Good morning, friends! Welcome to today's daily devotional. Today's devotional is going to be all about prayer. So go ahead, cozy up. I'm finishing up my coffee here for the day. You can grab a Bible, journal, coffee, tea, snack, whatever you like to do in the mornings to start your day off right. And let's go ahead and dive in. So before we get started, if you are new to my channel and maybe this is your first or second video, welcome. I'm Makenna and I'm so excited that you are here. I love talking about just real life stuff and really just walking hand in hand with all of you guys that watch these videos and just journeying the road of faith together. If you're not new, welcome back. I'm so honored to be a part of your day and to get to connect with you guys in this way. So let's go ahead, cozy up, and get started. So like I said, today we are talking all about prayer. Now I'm going to be super honest and upfront with you guys. The reason I'm talking about prayer today is because this week I realized there's so much going on in the world. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably noticed I don't love diving into these topics a lot, just of worldly topics, only because I feel like they're so blasted in our face right now, and I am not a news channel. And so I really try to make my pages or my social media accounts a place of real encouragement and just, things that will stir your faith. And so in saying that, I realized this week, being on social media, it is like just one blast after the other. It's tough right now. And I think that's pretty much 2020, right? It's tough. It's been really tough. And so I realized throughout seeing all of that and just my mind being really saturated with all of the stuff going on, I honestly have not been that good at guarding my heart this week and really taking the things that I'm seeing and taking those into prayer. So I'm just being really honest and vulnerable and saying this week, honestly, wasn't my best week as far as prayer. And I just realized that today, and I realized, gosh, like I feel like this whole week has gone by and I haven't really I've prayed and things like that, but I've really been carrying a lot of what needs to be given to God in prayer. And so that's why we're talking about this today, because I know that it is such a lifeline. It's a way to God's heart. It's a way to deeper intimacy with Him. It's a way to change our life and change other people's lives when we know how to pray and we know how to pray for other people. It's a means for our entire Christian walk in faith. It is the road to God's heart. And so I just felt like this almost, just this sense of humbling of, gosh, like I haven't been that great at prayer this week. And the great thing about God is that we can, realize things like that. And then He doesn't hold it over our heads. We can just always come back into His arms of grace and just say, okay, starting now, I'm going to be more diligent and a better steward of my time, what I'm feeding my heart, and that kind of thing. And really for me this week, making it a point to, when I do see these hard things, not to be carrying them, because there's nothing I can do if I'm just carrying it by myself. But when I take it to Jesus in prayer, that's where the real change comes. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I ordered Kyle this new devotional, and secretly I ordered it for him, but I also knew I'm probably also going to be reading it, and that assumption was absolutely correct. In this devotional today, it said, "Prayer is abandoning all other objects of worship and giving myself to the daily worship of God alone." And that honestly just brought like this clarity to my heart of, yes, I feel like I have been giving my time and my attention to so many other things and not making prayer my main point this week. And so I just was related to that so much and thought, yes, that is what I want. I want to make sure that my worship is set on God alone. And it talks about how prayer is an act of worship. And it says it is profoundly more than bringing to God our grocery lists of self-defined wants and needs. And it says, here are 7 ways in which prayer is rooted in worship. And so I just wanted to quickly read these 7 ways. I won't read like the full page, but it gives kind of like a bullet point and then it explains it. So I just wanted to share the 7 things with you guys because I thought it was really powerful. So it says, number 1, prayer acknowledges God's existence. If we felt equals to God, we wouldn't need to pray. And so it just talks about prayer is an acknowledgement of God as creator. And so then number 2, it says prayer bows to God's glory. Number 3, prayer submits to God's plan. I'm going to talk about that after I finish reading this. 4, prayer confesses allegiance to God's kingdom. 5, prayer rests in God's provision. Prayer celebrates God's grace, and prayer commits to God's work. So like I said, prayer is kind of a means of steadiness. It is a means to rise above the storms of life and be connected to the one that can actually bring about change and that can actually walk us through the storms of life and allow our hearts to just be so fixated on Jesus that we can walk through anything. We can walk through the valley and we can get up on the mountaintop and know that we are hand in hand with Jesus. That is the beautiful thing that prayer does, is it connects us to the Father's heart. And so I kind of want to go back to point number 3, which said prayer submits to God's plan. Now, I was thinking about this one specifically because I was having such a good conversation with Kyle, my husband, last night, and he's just been walking through some things kind of in our own life, and he was just saying, I don't even want to pray about this because I'm afraid that God's going to answer me this way. And when he said that, I was brought back to a few handful of times where I felt that so strongly, where one being like more of a lighthearted one being I was going to college at the time, and I really felt this pull of like I needed to stop going to college, and that was never my plan. That was never my plan not to finish. Probably not most people's plan, but I could not get away from it, and I did not want to talk to God about that for honestly probably a full semester. I felt like he was tugging on my heart, and I just was like, no, that is not my plan, God. Like, of course I'm going to graduate and I'm going to get this degree, and what do you mean stop? And so I wrestled with that so much because it so went against the plan that I had for my own life. And I remember having that exact same thought of, I am not praying about this, because if you are seriously telling me to quit school, then no, like no way. And so I kind of had to get to this point where I had to come to that full surrender and say, okay, God, like if my life looks completely different than what I had in mind, I'm going to have to be okay to just give you full surrender, not partial surrender where we hang on to the things that we really want and then we give God the rest. I just want to be a woman that lives in full surrender. That is like my heart's biggest cry, is I always want to be surrendered, fully surrendered to God's plan. And when you say that, you know, it's funny, sometimes things will happen that you just never thought would happen. But I remember like fully giving that part of my heart to God and just saying, okay, like whatever you're saying, I will listen to you. And that was the case. Was I did not have any peace about continuing on with my schooling at the time. I really felt like God was calling me into this direction, actually, which was encouraging women, and a lot of that has to do on online and in speaking in groups and, you know, just different speaking things. And I never pictured that for myself, but I honestly, now looking back, I couldn't imagine it any other way. And so I feel like oftentimes we're so afraid to give God a part of our heart. But the coolest thing about God is that he knows what's best for us. And so I feel often that when we are struggling with surrender, when we're struggling with giving God a part of our life, and like I said, that's a little bit more of a lighthearted example, but there's been so many times, I shouldn't say so many times, but a good handful of times where I've come to this crossroads where I just realize, okay, I really know what I want. And I don't know if I want to hear what you have to say, as crazy as that might sound, but if we're being real, you guys can probably all relate to that at some point or another in life, of, wait, I don't want my plan to get shaken up. Like, hang on, I had this all figured out. Like, I know exactly what I want. It's a good plan. But the funny thing and the cool thing about God is that when we do hand over that part of our hearts, it might look really different than what we had in mind. But God knows the deepest desires of our hearts because he placed them there. And I cannot think of anything more fulfilling to me and to my giftings and to what God has put strength in me for and what he has been strength in my weaknesses for. Like, I can't think of anything more fulfilling than doing this and getting to speak life, even though I never, ever thought of myself in that way before. And I laugh now that was such a tension for me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, of course God knows what he's doing. Like, yes, this plan was the plan that I was supposed to be on. And so even though I thought I had a pretty good plan, when we give God the freedom to wreck our plans and to let him really work, not just like a little bit of work, but really work in our hearts, man, it is so powerful. And I feel like that is when we really get to step out into the callings that God has for us and step into those purposes. And so that all goes back into a life of prayer, because we cannot be fully surrendered to God if we don't pray, if we don't talk to Him about things, if we don't come into connection with Him and partner with Him over our lives. And then, that trickles down into our family's life. It trickles down into generations. It trickles down into what we're able to hand off as legacy to our kids and, to the people that we mentor, the people that we get to speak life into, and to everybody in our life. That really trickles down. So when we're living in full surrender, it's such a beautiful thing. And it often is a very scary thing. I'm just being real. It can be scary, Like I said, I never thought that would be something that I would do, but gosh, like I have no regrets. I don't ever think like, oh, did I make a mistake there? Because I know that I heard God's voice, and I went with peace, and I prayed and I prayed, and I made sure that that was God's best for me, and that that was what God was calling me to. And when you know what God is calling you to, when you know that God is leading you a certain way, even if it is on a very narrow path and not many people would understand or would agree. If you know that God is the one leading you, we can go anywhere. We can do anything. But for me, I always think, if I don't know that God's in this with me, I don't want it, because I don't want to carry this by myself, or I don't want to go this route by myself. Like, I need to know that I am smack dab in the will of God. And the way that we do that is by prayer and by wise counsel, and just talking to mentors and talking to people that we really trust and that we really know, and talking through these things. But it really all starts back into living a life of prayer. And so that's going to be it for today's devotional. I do actually want to make this a 2-part devotional, because I have so much more to say on the topic of prayer, but I don't want to make this video too long. So in the next video, we'll continue on with prayer, but I hope that that just stirs your faith and kind of encourages you. If there's maybe anywhere that you haven't given to God, or if when I say that, like, oh, I might be hanging on here, and maybe not. Honestly, it's only been a couple of times where I've really felt that tension. So it might not be for now, but maybe it's just a good word for you to kind of hold in your heart, so that, when there is that kind of intertwining of my path and God's path, then you'll just be able to know, okay, hang on, I just need to pray about this. I need to give it to God, because God knows my heart the best, and He is going to exceed my wildest expectations. So I hope that was encouraging for you guys today. If it was, you can pass this along to a friend, share it on social media. That honestly is just the biggest blessing when you guys do that. And make sure you give this video a like, because it does really support my channel, and it helps other people to see these videos. If you want to be notified of the videos, I did hear a new thing that sometimes when you're subscribed to somebody, it used to be that it would notify you of when they posted new videos, but I'm pretty sure that things have changed. So I think that if you want notifications of when I post new videos, if you hit the little, the bell button, that will actually send you notifications for every single time that I upload a video. So if you're wanting that, that might be something that you want to look into. So anyways, I hope that this really blessed you and encouraged you today. I love connecting with you guys in this way. It's so fun, and just such a rich thing that we get to do together and cultivate these relationships together and encourage each other on our walks with God. And so if you have any encouragement or prayer requests, or, favorite Bible verses, or just anything that you want to talk about, leave it down in the comments. And these comment sections on my videos happen to be my favorite thing that I love getting to read through and respond to you guys. I've even seen you guys encouraging one another in the comments, and I just think that's such a beautiful thing. And so I'm so thankful for you guys, so thankful that you guys watch these videos and we get to connect in this way. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.